Welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where it never rains, but if it ever does, we're prepared for it. See, we'll just use our trusty frying pans as drying pans. And I am your host, Lugia, which is based off of a Pokemon, but not the subject of the movie we're talking about today.
Yes, my name is Red Drummerts.
My name is Patrick, and I don't believe I have any connections to Pokemon in my name.
Maybe like an NPC in the
Oh,
game.
Isn't Red a character in Pokemon, or is that
Yes,
just
he's
the
a-
main
one the
protagonist of
games?
Gen 1.
He's the main character of the original game and manga.
All right, so you guys both have ties to Pokemon in your name. I am not in that club.
Not with that attitude.
Wait, let me think. Patrick Pokemon. When I googled Patrick Pokemon, all I got is just a bunch of photoshops of Patrick from SpongeBob.
I suspected you would. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
not important. That's not important.
There was a minor character called Patrick. He has a Pikachu. That's it.
I'll take it. I do love me some Pikachu.
And speaking of Pokemon, our subject for today is Pokemon the first movie, released in 1999, if I'm correct. Yeah, this was during the
I think it was 98 actually.
The Japanese release was 98. The American release was 99.
Oh, okay.
This was during the huge Pokeapocalypse that infested basically the entire world. Like, you could not escape Pokemon in the late 90s. It was fucking everywhere. Before we begin, well, first off, we don't have any news for this week, so we're just going to be primarily talking about the movie.
Just jumping headfirst into it.
And secondly, I know we may have asked this question a couple times in other episodes, but what are your guys' experiences with Pokemon?
So I have played every game except the most recent ones. I haven't played any of the ones on the Nintendo Switch, but I played all the others. Was really into it as a kid. I've read all of the manga like up until like Gen 4. So I've read the Pokemon Adventures, Pokemon Special manga. I've read up to there. Let's see what else. Actually, with the manga I've read up until Gen 6. I forgot that I read Gen 4 and 5 a while back. So yeah, big fan of Pokemon. Watched the anime as a kid too. I've seen like most of the movies and the show till again around Gen 5. So.
And what about you, Patrick?
My experience of Pokemon, when it comes to the video games, I've not had much hands-on experience. The only ones I've played are Pokemon Emerald for the GBA, a little bit of Diamond on the DS, and Pokemon Go, if you want to count that, which I played for about a week, but I didn't really get into it.
That's more than what I can say because I only played Pokemon Go for like 5 minutes. Like, I started up the game, I named my character a string of random letters, I caught a Bulbasaur, and then I deleted the app.
I don't know. I started playing it, I didn't really get it, and then my brother explained it to me, but I don't know, it just wasn't really for me.
Are you not an RPG guy?
I've not really played many RPGs, to be perfectly honest. Nothing against it, it's just not my genre.
No, that's fine. It's
I know.
pretty niche, if I'm being honest.
I'm curious to give it a shot, like if I find the right one. But other than the games, I've never played the card game, never collected the cards. I have watched a few episodes of the anime, but my main exposure to Pokemon was actually through watching my brother play it, because he was a huge Pokemon fan back in the day. I would watch him play primarily Pokemon Snap, on the Nintendo 64. A lot of good memories with that. And of course, whenever he watched the anime, I would plop down next to him just to see what was going on. So I'm not a complete stranger, but I'm also not an expert by any means.
That's fine. At least you have some knowledge going in, so you're not completely out of the loop.
No, not at all.
As with myself, Pokemon was primarily the franchise that infested my entire life. My first game was Fire Red. I think I had that at around 2005 with a red Game Boy Advance SP. Yeah, and then I got Emerald, and that became like my favorite Pokemon game ever. It still has. I mean, I can acknowledge like Heart Gold and Soul Silver as better games, but the nostalgia I have for Emerald is just unmatched.
My favorite games were the pretty much just the DS generation. Platinum, Heart Gold, Black and White too. I'd say those are probably my
Those
favorite.
were really good too. I think the peak of Pokemon was generations 3 to 5, and then it kind of fell off after 6. I haven't played through Gen 8 all the way. I kind of stopped after like 15 hours, and I have not bought the Arceus game yet, even though I
Yeah.
hear people say like that's really good.
I like Gen 7 because it tried a bunch of new things.
Gen 7 was alright. I think it was better than 6. I did
Like,
dabble in the trading card game. I have a binder full of Pokemon
Yeah,
cards.
I was into the Pokemon cards too as a kid.
I haven't really played many of the spin-offs. I tried out Mystery Dungeon for my cousin. I owned the first Pokemon Ranger game, but I think that's about it. Oh no, I
I
had Poke
played
Park as well.
I played the second Pokemon Rangers game, and I had that one like Wii game that was basically just Pokemon Stadium, but like the Wii's version of it.
Battle Revolution.
Yeah.
What I find funny is that the only one of those that have an actual single player campaign are the GameCube ones, Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness. Like you
I
would
remember there
think,
being a single player.
considering considering the name is Coliseum, you would think it's like a sequel to Stadium, which was pretty much just battling in the minigames. But no, it's like an actual fully fledged story.
So out of curiosity, of the movies, what have you guys seen?
I've seen the first 3 Heroes, all of the Gen 3 movies. I think all of the Gen 4 movies too, and then a couple of the Gen 5 ones, and that was it.
I've seen all of the basically all the ones till Gen. Okay. The last one I saw was the Victini one. And yeah, so I saw all the Pokemon movies up until 2011. And then after that, I didn't watch any of the other movies.
I would like to point out currently there are 23.5 movies.
Point
Yeah, so I
five?
saw one,
What's the
two,
what's the
three, four,
point
five,
five?
6,
There's a black
7,
and
8,
white
9,
movie.
10, 11, 12, 13,
There's 2
14.
black and white movies that are basically the same. They just swap out different Pokemon.
Yeah, the
Ah,
Victini one I was mentioned, they did a weird marketing trick there.
Yeah, that's why I said
6, 7,
23.5,
8,
because
9,
it's the same
10,
movie. It's
11,
just
12,
different
13.
Pokemon, but like everything
Yeah,
else is just the plot is still the same.
so I've
gotcha.
seen 14 of those. I actually forgot I did see the Genesect movie. So I guess I saw 15 of those. But yeah, cool. And
I've
the sort of okay, so I saw all the black and white movies actually. So I stopped after black and white. None of the movies after.
okay. I've seen the third movie. Destiny Deox. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
What?
Okay.
Destiny
Um,
Deoxys.
That's not the third
Deoxys.
movie.
No. I've seen the third movie,
Okay,
comma,
okay.
Destiny Deox. Destiny Deox. I think I've seen 2000. I've seen Heroes. I've seen the Lucario one, and maybe this was one of the ones I mentioned. But wasn't there one where this little girl can transform into a Pokemon?
Wasn't that Heroes?
Yes.
Might have been.
Well, Heroes was
I
a
don't know.
Pokemon turning into a girl, which is different.
I'll be honest. I
Uh,
couldn't really
you might be thinking about
differentiate.
the third movie because I feel like in the third movie some
No, the
person.
third movie was the father changes into a Pokemon.
Yeah.
That I remember. I think I remember the third one more than any of them.
I haven't seen the 4th one. Was that it?
That was the no, that was a time travel one, where young Professor Oak and Celebi show up.
Which one was the one with Prostole and Minun?
No, those are like characters in the show, so
No,
they're
no,
in multiple movies.
there was one that had like a little side plot with them. Wait, no, hold up,
Um,
wait. The movie I'm thinking of isn't about a girl who transforms into a Pokemon. It's a girl who's afraid of Pokemon.
um,
I'm thinking of the 3rd movie, but I don't think that's the case.
No, it's not. No, I remember it because there's a scene where Prostole and Minun show up next to her and she kind of freaks out.
It's Plusle and Minun, by the way. So it has to be a Gen 3 movie.
yeah, it's definitely a Gen 3 movie.
Was
Might
that
be.
was that Jirachi?
I'm checking because Jirachi was about Max, right? That was mostly
Yeah.
that was his story. Let me think.
There was Jirachi
'Cause
the
there was
Wishmaker,
like
Destiny
4 Gen
Deoxys,
3 movies.
the Lucario movie, and Temple of the Sea, which was Manaphy. I want to say it
Yeah.
was Jirachi.
Okay, when I googled it, it said Destiny Deoxys, so maybe you're just thinking about that.
It might have been again. A lot of them blend together in my head
Yeah.
because
I
it's
don't
been so
blame you
long.
because there's so many of them.
I know.
Not to
Yeah.
say
Might have
all of
been.
them are bad. Hell, some of them are actually really good. Like the Lucario movie is easily the best one out of the bunch.
Oh, I've heard.
And
Uh,
I liked
I
how
don't
in
know.
I thought Gen 4 had a neat little thing where the movies actually had their own little like ongoing plot sort of to it. So like um the Arceus movie directly references the events of the Darkrai movie and the Giratina movie.
Also, I know this is kind of irrelevant, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. I've also seen Detective Pikachu.
Oh yes,
Oh
I have
yeah,
not seen that one.
that one was actually kind of good.
Yeah,
I
not
liked it.
bad. Okay, I think that's enough about
Yeah,
the other movies. Let's talk about the first one.
we could call this as a makeshift news segment, except we just nerd on about Pokemon.
All right.
So, Pokemon the first movie was directed by, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this, Kuniko Yuyama, who
Sounds right.
directed a majority of the other Pokemon movies and the anime itself. So obviously, you got to get the guy who knows his shit to actually make the movie. Obviously, since this took place during the Pokepocalypse, this movie was very successful. It had a budget of $5 million and it made about 172 million. I don't know what that is in yen, but I know that's a lot.
I'm looking at this. I think he might have directed every Pokemon movie,
Really.
like of the
Really?
anime ones.
The voice talents were largely the same from the show, so the license in America was handed to 4Kids Entertainment, who worked on the dubbing for the anime, so that means we have Veronica Taylor as Ash, Rachel Lillis as Misty, and Eric Stewart as both Brock and James, and I love Eric Stewart as James. Like, that is the one thing about the anime that I put above all else, is just that man voicing that character.
Surrender now or prepare to fight.
It's
Hmm.
so good.
The writer of this movie was the writer of the first three Pokemon movies, only the first three.
I believe his name is Takeshi
Takeshi
Shudo?
Shudo.
Yeah.
Takeshi Shudo.
I'll
Yes.
go into him a little bit later for a fun fact.
Okay.
All right.
Some episodes of the anime were meant to tie in with the movie, like make it canon. But it was delayed after the release of the infamous Electric Soldier Porygon episode. And if you know anything about that, basically it caused a lot of children to have seizures and they were hospitalized. So it was Japan only episode that never saw a release in America, and Porygon legally was not allowed to appear in any Pokemon episode after, even though Pikachu was responsible for it.
Has Porygon appeared in any of the games since?
Yes,
Okay.
Porygon is still in the games. He's just not allowed to appear in the show
Yeah,
Legally?
yeah.
yet.
It could show up in the manga too, so that's fine.
Just not on
Uh,
TV.
You can't get a seizure from reading the manga.
If you flip the pages really fast.
Well, that's kind of on you.
Flipperama.
Yeah, Fliporama features. Oh my god.
Actually,
They're
speaking
filthy.
of banned episodes,
Calls for
have you
abuse.
guys even seen some of the banned episodes from season one? Like, they're fucking
I remember
weird.
the one with the tits.
The
Yes,
beach episode.
Beauty at the beach.
I also remember there was this one episode that I think got banned because of like 9/11 or something, where the giant tentacruel that like destroys a city.
No, I don't think that one was banned. I do know there was an episode based on the Safari Zone where some guy, the Safari Zone owner, points a gun at Ash and pretty much everyone
Yes,
around him.
I was just gonna say. I know there's an episode.
And
with guns in
Meowth
it.
dresses up like Hitler for some reason.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, there's
Same
a reason
episode,
that
too.
wasn't localized.
Ooh.
There's this other banned episode. I think it may not have been banned. It may have just been like briefly postponed. But I think it had something to do with like the earthquakes in whatchamacallit.
Japan.
Yeah, remember that
Yeah.
that earthquake
I remember,
thing that
yeah.
happened? Yeah, because there's some episodes that are like banned in Japan, banned in like Okay, so yeah, a banned Japan episode is Pikachu and Pichu. The Japanese narrator of the short film was arrested due to drugs. Okay, yeah, that was it.
Jesus. Is there any
Wow.
place in the world that has access to every Pokemon episode?
I don't know, maybe Canada. No, that's English dub. Let's see. South Korea has a couple banned episodes, so obviously not them. Ironically, it'd be kind of funny if it was like China or something. because that's the one. That's the country that everyone like assumes wouldn't. Oh, there was an episode with Jinx that was banned because people thought it
Yeah.
was really racist towards black people because
Didn't
Jinx's
they didn't they
design.
re- didn't they redesign Jinx?
Yeah, she's purple now,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah,
still think
not so much
she's
a
racist.
redesign, just like a
A
recolor.
color. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like when they changed Popo in Dragon Ball to blue, but it's like it's still Popo.
Let's switch back to the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the time frame of the movie is during the first season after Ash collects a majority of the Pokemon he uses in the show, but in the movie we only see him use Pikachu and his 3 starters. So Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and his fully evolved Charizard. Yep. There were some errors in the movie that I noticed, and in fact I believe the 4Kid staff also noticed, but they left it intentionally. We'll get into that a little bit later though.
Right.
Just a little tidbit I want to bring up now. The scriptwriter Takeshi Shudo, he wanted to focus on a theme of existentialism for Mewtwo. So he wanted him to believe that he had a right to live in this world just as anyone else did. But when 4Kids was handed the license, they figured, what the hell is this? People don't want this. So they changed Mewtwo's script so that he's like a clearly evil antagonist and not so much an ambiguous one, because they didn't think that American audiences would like that. And finally, this movie got a sequel called Mewtwo Returns. It's not an actual movie, but it's just a special. They don't treat it as one of the Pokemon movies, and it takes place during the Johto arc, which is seasons 3 to 5 of the show.
Yeah. So I guess they like retroactively canonized this movie because they directly reference. I saw that special too. They directly reference the events of the movie. It is very much a sequel to this.
All right. So give us a plot synopsis.
Well, actually, before I start, so this movie is kind of split up into 3 segments. There's Pikachu's Vacation. I forget the name of the other one.
Talk about that. So Pikachu's Vacation, just briefly to talk about that. You guys haven't seen that one, right?
No, I didn't watch that.
I'm the only one. Okay, so Pikachu's Vacation is basically just some Ash and the gang. They just leave Pikachu in the daycare, and they're like, "Oh, take care of Togepi for us because Togepi is, the stupid little baby." And yeah, basically the episode's like them constantly trying to get Togepi out of trouble and danger.
So it's like a babysitting shenanigans.
Yeah, some decent
From
solid
what
comedy.
I remember, yeah. I think they show off a couple Johto Pokemon like Snubble.
Oh yes, they do. Sometimes the movies they'll introduce the next gen's Pokemon ahead of time. Like I remember we earlier were talking about the Lucario movie. That was like the first time people ever saw Lucario because it was still Gen 3 at the time. That was basically just them being like, "Oh, look at this next Pokemon that's going to be in the next generation." Same with the Zoroark movie. That was a Gen 4 movie, but it was like teasing Gen 5. So they do that sometimes.
Yeah, I know Pokemon has a habit of teasing Pokemon in various places. Like I know in Smash Brothers, some of the Pokemon in those games, that was the first time you would see them.
Yeah, Greninja in Smash 4.
Yeah.
I think they had like the rolling elephant too.
Yeah, Donphan.
I forgot what his name was. Donphan, yeah.
I think that's the only new Johto Pokemon they show off in the movie, though.
Yeah.
It's just a nice teaser of things to come for the games, though. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. I did find it interesting how both the games and the anime just kind of treated Johto as like in the anime it's the same like cast and crew like characters from the first one and the in Gold and Silver. They directly reference the events of the first game. It's like a direct follow up, and that's like I found that interesting because like all the other Pokemon games, it's treated as its like own thing. Even in the anime, Ash always gets new companions each generation.
Actually, no. In the games, it's implied that Gen 1 and 3 take place at the same time, and Gen 2 and 4 also do.
They always do like this implication thing anytime with like the remakes come out just for the sake of like connecting the two, but like Gen 2 like is actually directly following up on the events of Gen 1, like in terms of like Team Rocket and stuff. Like that's what I meant. Like it was designed as a direct sequel when all the other Pokemon games were kind of designed to sort of a fresh start.
Oh, we ready to jump right into this?
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
So, I guess this all depends on the version that you watch, but the one we saw had a 10-minute intro. I believe it's called The Uncut Story of Mewtwo.
That's how it was released in America. Yeah.
Yeah. It basically just explains the origins of Mewtwo. So he's created in a lab. He's supposed to be a clone of another mythical Pokemon called Mew.
And
And
that's sort of where the cloning theme comes from.
yeah.
Mm.
So he's created in this lab funded by Team Rocket. And what I found interesting is that the lead scientist is Fuji from Gen 1. Because he's basically just an NPC that chills out in a lavender town. He doesn't really do much in the story, but here, like, he's not so much an antagonist, or at least not in this little short, because he's trying to come into contact with his deceased daughter. But yeah, that's just a little fun fact that I wanted to spew out. He doesn't really serve that much of a purpose in either story, really, but it was interesting to see him in this role.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be more so characterization. And again, like you mentioned, how in the sub he was meant to be more of a sympathetic character, and that kind of like adds to it.
Yeah, but in the actual movie, like, you just see him as an antagonist. In fact, I don't think there's any mention of his deceased daughter.
Yeah, like I think they probably cut that so it could be much more like clear cut.
Speaking of the actual movie, Mewtwo awakens. He doesn't want to be controlled by humans. He destroys the lab, and he meets with Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, and probably, maybe, secretly the 8th gym leader of Kanto. Giovanni helps Mewtwo gain control of his powers, and then Mewtwo says, you know what? No, fuck this, I'm out. And he decides to host an event to gather the strongest trainers in the world, beat them, and then take over the world, which then brings us to our main characters, Ash, Misty, and Brock, who get this invitation from a Dragonite, because, I don't know, Dragonites can be mailmen now. I think it's cool. They meet with Mewtwo, they fight, and Mewtwo learns the error of his ways and erases everyone's memories, so they forget what happens, and then the movie ends. There is a little bit more to it, but that's basically the general gist. Like, substance-wise, there's not really that much, or at least the English dub, because again, in the Japanese script, Shudo wanted this to be a little more existentialist. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this movie, especially Patrick, because he's not as big of a Pokemon nerd as we are.
Okay, I'll start. Like I said, I have seen some episodes of the anime, both the original and Diamond and Pearl, so I do have general knowledge. I will say it. Seeing Ash, Misty, Brock, and Ash's Pikachu again, it did bring a smile to my face, just because it was great seeing them again. But as for the movie as a whole, I will admit it does have some interesting concepts to it with the whole theme of existentialism. You got some Ghost in the Shell in my Pokemon movie. But in terms of the movie as a whole, I do like the ideas, but it feels like the running time and the execution didn't truly do it justice.
What do you mean?
This movie feels very fast. Like it feels like an episode of the show. That's the best way I can put it.
I think that was kind of the point. Because they have the narrator, like when we get to Ash's and Misty and Brock's introduction, they kind of treat that as just like another episode of the show with the narrator.
I know.
Even with the ending too.
I feel like the later movies feel a bit more cinematic, and this one they're kind of like unsure what to do, so they just kind of made it feel like a big episode. Maybe that's why like this follow-up to this was like an episode 2, because like form structurally at that point they're not very similar. They're very similar.
It has the right idea. It's just it's working as a television show, so the execution doesn't feel as grand as it should be.
Yeah, like, this feels like more of like when you watch a show like and there's like an hour-long special, that's what this kind of feels like, rather than like a theatrical release.
But to give a general thought, I thought the movie was okay.
It was entertaining enough.
Yeah.
I would say this is one of the better movie outings, or at least in terms of Pokemon. It's not my favorite by any means, but I do have a soft spot for it.
I feel like it is a bit hard to judge like Pokemon movies, like, but yeah, this was
because in terms of content, there's not really that much. It's more or less just fighting like the next big legendary Pokemon. There's no like deep themes or anything like that.
Yeah,
also, I do find it funny that like literally upon release they called this the first movie. Like that wasn't a retroactive title change. Like they knew.
Yeah, we're gonna be making more of them.
They actually had like other movies in production at the time, so like they knew for a fact that this was going to be the first one.
Did they
Yeah, so,
have
like,
2000 in production by the time
Yeah,
this came out?
2000 was in
this one
production.
was,
Yeah,
I think that was the
because
second
like
movie.
these movies, these were like yearly releases. So they kind of had to do it like clockwork. It's like a machine there. But yeah,
But
I do find it funny how like the first like 4 Pokemon movies all have like the number in the title somewhere. It's like, oh, Pokemon 2000, Pokemon Forever, and then they just gave up and was like, fuck it, like who cares anymore?
oh, so they basically took the Scream approach.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
Scream
I think
1,
they
Scream
started
2,
doing that with
Scream 3,
Heroes.
Scraphorum, and then just Scream.
yeah. Heroes, it was just Pokemon Heroes. I was like, okay, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, like that has nothing, no numbers in the title, but yeah.
One more thing about the title. After the title card Pokemon the first movie showed up, it faded to black, and then it faded up again to reveal the subtitle Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Yeah.
That confused me because is
See,
this is how Mewtwo was created. How can he strike back if he hasn't struck a first time?
He's striking
see,
back on
I
humanity.
think that was like it was like see, technically his first outing was at that prologue, so I guess this was meant to be like his getting revenge. Mewtwo's revenge. Maybe that,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. It was weird.
I kind of found it like Mewtwo's dialogue to be kind of hilarious because it's so much better written than every other character's. Like he's like it's like they got one writer to just read just a ton of philosophy books and it was like okay and just write all of Mewtwo's dialogue and everyone else was just like they just wrote a normal thing.
It's out of place, but I think that's what makes it work. Because if
Yeah,
they
it's
want to make Mewtwo like an imposing antagonist, I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how you do it.
Yeah,
Speaking
Mewtwo ended racism. I think it's kind of hilarious when Ash tried to punch Mewtwo.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you ever
like-
think you're pathetic, just remember Ash tried throwing hands with Mewtwo.
Ash, that's a psychic Pokemon. What did you think was gonna happen? He was gonna let his guard down and just let you go for it?
I wish I said this earlier, but my biggest problem with this movie is that it does not do a good job of explaining what a Pokemon is to a general audience. Like, if you've seen the show, then you already have context going in, but say you're one of the many parents who brought their kids to see this movie, you would be like, what the fuck is a Pokemon? What is a Pikachu? Who is Mewtwo? Is there a Mew 1? Is there a Mew 3?
I mean, they do show Mew 1, but yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the Mewtwo part was actually made
Yeah, if they
pretty
want to
clear. They
cater this
explained that.
movie to a
No,
wider
they-
audience by having it be a theatrical release, I don't think it does a good job.
Well, they make it pretty clear that Mewtwo is a clone of Mew. They say that like 7 times, one time back to back. Mewtwo says, "I have been cloned from your DNA. I am superior." And the traitors are like, "Mew and Mewtwo? So Mewtwo's cloned from Mew?" I'm like, "Yes,
Yeah, but
I get
like,
it."
what's Ash's
here's the
motivations for being the best trainer in the world? Why does he care so much about fighting Mewtwo?
Okay, so my defense of that is just anime movies like are often like released in theaters in Japan, and so culturally there it's kind of just like it's not never meant for beginners, but in America people I guess sort of view it as like the movie as a good place to start for beginners. But no, this is more of like I don't know, Serenity or like End of Evangelion. Like this is it will not make sense unless you have seen the series.
It's kind of like Kick-Assy on that vein, where if you have no idea what the lore is, you're gonna be so lost.
Yeah, kinda. It's very weird to describe something professional in the same breath as Kikassia.
I will
yeah.
say this is much better than Kick-Assy.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm surprised that for once you are the one to make the nostalgia critic reference in the episode.
All right, that's a first.
Yeah. While we're on it, like I feel like Doug Walker's review of it is an interesting perspective on like a person that knows nothing about Pokemon watching this movie because I feel like every other review I've seen of it comes from someone that knows Pokemon. Doug's was the only one where I was like, okay, this person generally had no fucking idea what a Pokemon is.
Yeah.
This is like truly someone that has no idea. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then it turned out that all he needed to know was what Pokemon stood for, Pocket Monster, because that really just kind of explains the entire premise, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Monsters
That you can fit in your pocket.
That is it. That is the entire premise of Pokemon. Like the rest of it, I feel like you can just figure out via context clues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ash turning to stone. That was kind of like it's corny now, but like as a kid, that was like
that was like the
effective.
most
I feel like
raw
you're never
moment when you
surprised
were a
that.
child.
I will admit, Pikachu electrocuting the stone Ash to wake him up is actually pretty sad.
Yeah, but I think it gets pretty cheesy once like everyone starts crying and the
And
tears
then-
are what revive them.
Yeah,
here's the
that
thing.
that's
the
was
Pikachu electrocuting Ash thing. That's even sadder if you've seen the series because in the series
first episode.
Yeah, the first
the
episode,
first-
they are not best friends.
No, not at all.
and like Pikachu constantly like electrocutes him just because like he finds him annoying.
Yeah. And then and then Ash steals Misty's bike.
Yeah,
Try
this
to
is my
save him.
favorite scene.
That's not the last
Oh,
time
yeah.
Ash steals a bike. He does the same thing to May in Gen 3.
Yeah, Pikachu
Ash
bitch slap.
Ketchum, international bike thief.
Yeah.
But if we could talk about the ending for a second, okay. Or the last third. Remember how you said, Luga, you said Mewtwo's dialogue felt a bit out of place?
Yeah.
You want to talk about out of place? When the Pokemon are beating the crap out of each other, why is a pop song about brotherhood playing in the background? That came up. I actually paused the movie and I'm like, that can't be right. Then
I
played it
honestly
again.
forgot that was in the
I
movie
think-
until I rewatched it. I'm like, what?
Okay, yeah. I think the idea was like, isn't it sad that these Pokemon they're like the brothers technically like in arms or whatever, and they're
What's
resorting
weird
to
about
violence against each
what's
other.
weird about it is that when the trainers start to realize, wait a minute, violence is wrong, that's when the orchestral track comes in, and I'm like, that feels reversed. Because it still would have been cheesy as hell if the pop song played over them realizing that fighting is wrong, but it would have made more sense.
I mean, I'm going to be
guess.
honest. I think the soundtrack slaps. In fact, I don't think
Oh,
the
that's fine.
I don't
Pokemon
think it's
series
bad,
has
I
put
just
out a
find it-
dud
I
until
just find
after
it-
Season 8.
I don't think
Oh,
it's bad. I just
It's
find
just
it
the
strangely
placement.
out of place.
Yeah, the
Okay,
placement is
okay,
just
okay.
weird.
so this is gonna mean nothing to people who again aren't Pokemon fans, but when Jesse and James are looking at the monitor and a Scyther shows up and they say it's an Alakazam, I was like,
I was just
What do
going to
you
bring that
mean?
up. Yeah.
that
No,
is not an
actually,
Alakazam, it's a
four
Scyther.
kids. Four kids said that was intentional just to make sure that kids would be paying attention and they would know the Pokemon. And it would also paint Team Rocket as not exactly
that's
the
a
sharpest
cult.
tool in the sheds.
Nah,
But
that's some bullshit.
you know what I can't forgive? The one trainer calling his own Pidgeot a Pidgeotto, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dumbass? That's your Pokemon.
Actually, to talk about the monitor scene, they of course made a "Who's that Pokemon" joke
Twice.
twice.
Oh, wait.
Okay,
I
I'll
find-
admit the first time it was funny. The second time it felt a bit forced.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that Team Rocket was always meant to be the comic relief. I felt like they went a little too
I like the
repetitive on their
gag-
shtick.
Yeah. I like the gag where they reference the Minnesota Vikings. That's a
Yeah.
sports joke, but it's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. Yeah.
So does the United States of America exist in the Pokemon universe?
I don't know.
I mean,
I
don't know,
Unova
the
is
mi-
based off of New York.
I mean, it's they call it
don't
Unova, and Alola.
so
sure,
is
like,
there
the rest of the
legit
country.
Minnesota?
Yeah, the Minnesota region. Um,
And of course, this is. I'm pretty sure
here's the
everybody
thing.
has said.
No, actually, here's the thing. With early Pokemon, it's kind of just sort of implied that like it takes place in the real world, but as the series goes along, they make it like more and more less. The Kanto region is like an actual like part of Japan. So like I'm pretty sure when Pokemon start out, they're just like, oh, the Kanto region is like literally the region in Japan. And then as the series went along, they decided to like slowly make it less and less like reality. Like they had regular fish in the original series, regular animals alongside Pokemon. Like I kind of just made it seem like they wanted it to just be the regular world, but with Pokemon. But as it went along, they're like, let's just make it its own universe. Like fuck it. I don't
Alright,
know.
and now are we gonna bring up the elephant in the room? The movie's message:
Yes, racism is bad.
violence is never the answer.
Also that.
Like, okay, it's a nice message. It's a good message, no doubt about that. It's just
a
in
little
the wrong place.
contradictory.
In Pokemon.
It's in the wrong place.
They do.
That's
It's a
like-
little like
They try the same thing again in the Black and White games with Team Plasma, and I think it works a lot better there.
I don't know, but here it's like
yeah. Well, I mean,
it's like
the,
I don't know. for
the
me,
Black and White game, they had like a whole like that was like a 40-hour game. So like you have hear a lot of different perspectives and stuff in regards to that. N, Geddes, and all the others.
And especially.
There's
Yeah,
a character
and-
named N, by the way.
Yeah, and they really drag on about we can't. Violence is so wrong. I was not expecting this. We need to look at what's the same about us.
Yeah,
That
my
goes on for, like,
favorite
3 minutes.
my favorite part is that like since Mewtwo and like technically Math, but like I'm just gonna focus on Mewtwo. Mewtwo is like the only one that can speak English. So like he has a. I remember this like conversation he had with Mew where he was like, "What is my reason to live, Mew? You're right. I now see the circumstance of one's birth are irrelevant." I'm like, God damn, what did Mew say in that like one little like Mew that sparked all that? Existential. He's like Mewtwo's are talking about like existentialism, nihilism, weird like egomaniacal like worldviews and shit. And Mew's just saying Mew, and it's like I don't know. I feel like if like this probably gave like some kids the child version of depression.
Yeah, like I said,
Which
Well,
this
I
is
I
mean,
guess
with
would
the
just be
the
depression.
death scene,
like I
kind
said,
of,
this is basically a kid's version of Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
except if it was dumbed down like
Yeah.
to -11. I will say
Um,
though, I know the death scene is what a lot of people think of when they think of this movie. Not to me, actually. The scene that sticks out to me the most is when Ash is like in the cloning machine trying to get Pikachu's Pokeball back, because that's like the only time we ever see Pikachu in a Pokeball.
oh,
In the
yeah.
anime, he's
In the
always
anime,
outside the
they make
Pokeball. He refuses to be in one.
Yeah, there was like a plot reason where like he hates being in a Pokeball. During like a few intense scenes in the anime, they put him in the Pokeball, but like, yeah, he's generally never in it.
Actually, one thing I do want to say is that you can definitely. This was theatrically released, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was in
Ye-
Japan. I don't think it was it in America.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it
Given how
was.
huge. Yeah.
No,
But
because here's the thing: like a lot of the Pokemon movies, they were just released on TV. They were TV movies.
well,
They all of them released in Japan, but only like I don't know if it ever released in America.
the
Theatrically.
reason I ask is because I could definitely tell where like the cutoff for commercials are in this movie. There are several instances where like the camera awkwardly fades to black, and also when like scenes awkwardly cut between each other. I'm like, oh yeah, there's your commercial.
Here, let me check.
I wouldn't say it's a criticism. It's just I don't know. It's just a comment.
I have one more thing to say about this movie before I give my final thoughts.
Mhm.
I don't think this was intentional for the script writing, but when Mewtwo says your Charizard is poorly trained, I thought that was genius. If you've seen what happens in the Pokemon League, you know that is true. Because
Okay.
Ash
It seems
loses
the
a
first-
match when he sends out Charizard and Charizard is just slacking. Like he doesn't do shit and Ash loses because of it.
Okay, so when I looked it up, this is kind of interesting, but it seems the first like 5 movies were released in theaters, but like some theater chains would like play some of the others like temporarily, like as a limited release sort of thing. So technically, every Pokemon movie has been in theaters in America, just not to any large scale capacity outside like the first handful.
Okay.
Oh, we never talked about the characters. So what do you think of Brock and Misty and all the and those and because we mentioned
They
that
are
Jesse and James are great. We talked about Ash, but what about Brock and Misty? We didn't talk about.
they are just there. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, like
Um,
I realized at the end of the movie, they really don't do anything.
They're just
Yeah.
along for the ride. I mean, Ash is kind of too, but at least he has a little more significance.
Yeah.
he has some agency. Ash.
Mhm.
Brock's has a couple funny lines though.
That
But
is
yeah,
kind of the case with a
Pikachu
lot of the other
tryna-
movies too, because they tend to focus around one of the main characters and not so much the whole cast. Like Heroes, I think, is centered around Ash. Temple of the Sea is actually focused on May. So on and so forth.
Yeah. 2000 was also focused on Ash. But I think the third one that they just had that had them definitely as side characters in another person's story.
I do have one other thing I want to mention. This is incredibly minor, but it stood out to me. In terms of how this movie looks, the animation doesn't really go above and beyond what the series did. Um,
It has
You know,
a
aside
little
from-
more production value, but not by much.
yeah, a little, and
Yeah.
there is some brief moments of CGI, but they're very brief. But there is
Actually,
one.
the CGI was added in a re-release.
Really?
Yeah, I found that interesting.
Well, anyway, there is one moment that actually did stand out to me visually. This is incredibly minor, but it's when Mewtwo is explaining why he kidnapped Nurse Joy, because it starts as a shot of Brock holding Nurse Joy because she's dazed, and the camera slowly spins to reveal Mewtwo. I don't know why, but like the pacing and the movement of that shot felt especially cinematic. I don't know. It
Again,
stood out to me.
I feel like a lot of the issues with this is just because it was the first movie they made. Because like a lot of these complaints here, I'm thinking like they don't exist in like some of the later ones. Like the animation definitely was like upgraded in later Pokemon movies. It felt bigger, but I don't know. It's a valiant first attempt. I don't know. I guess my biggest issue is, like you said, the pacing is a little bit off, and yeah, I don't know.
That and the awkward ass song choice. I'm sorry. That's people complain. People complain about how ridiculous the reviving of Ash is with the tears. No, the Pokemon fighting over the Brotherhood song is gonna stick with me as ridiculous. So, final verdicts.
I guess I'll go first. So, casually speaking, I think this is like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I feel like if you don't know Pokemon that very well, you're not really going to get a whole lot out of this. I don't think it would be bad per se, but it's probably not going to stick out in your mind. However, as a Pokemon fan, I would say it's about a 7 or a 7.5. Granted, my score is based on heavy nostalgia since I saw this quite a few times as a kid. But I still think it kind of holds up well. It was definitely a significant part of my childhood, that's for sure. I don't think this movie is the best this franchise has to offer, but it's by no means the worst either.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna give
it's
it
like
a
above average in
Yeah,
the tier list.
it's
yeah.
probably in like my top 5 Pokemon movies.
All right, not bad.
I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Also, again, it's not bad, but it's not like great or anything. I find there's some admirable qualities, but like on the whole, it's not particularly great.
I would say 2000 is a better movie, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know.
And for me, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't call this great by any means, but like as a first attempt at a Pokemon movie, it's not bad at all. It does have some interesting themes to it, but I feel like because it plays out like an extended episode, it doesn't really have time to really reach its full potential with the ideas. But
Yeah.
I would say overall I did enjoy myself. But it's definitely a movie made exclusively for fans.
I mean, it is
Yeah.
significant for the Pokemon franchise. Like, this skyrocketed Mewtwo's popularity. He's like the most popular Pokemon next to Pikachu and Charizard.
Yeah. I'm gonna say one thing. The Digimon movie's better. Get beat the fuck out, Pokemon. You may have won in every other category, ever, but the Digimon anime is better. Fuck you.
Does this mean we're going to talk about the Digimon movie at some point?
Probably not.
Okay, because I know
Maybe.
nothing about Digimon.
Here's the thing: the Digimon movies are actually a lot better at catching you up to speed, and they actually function better as movies. So, like, maybe maybe we can talk about them. I don't know. There's this thing called like Digimon R War Game, but like that's only like 40 minutes long. Like if we ever talk about that, we're gonna talk about it next to Summer Wars, which is like so there's a director called Mamoru Hosoda who directed The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Belle. He's like a critically acclaimed director. He got his start on Digimon, and one of his things he made was like a 40-minute sort of movie called a Digimon or War Game. And later he kind of expanded on the ideas of that into like a full-length standalone feature movie. So like if we ever talk about Digimon, I might just pair it up with that because a 90-minute movie and a 40-minute movie, like not a big deal. But that'll be like in the summer.
Lugia, do you know anything about Digimon?
No.
Alright.
Aside from
Cool.
one of the characters in the anime does a Christopher Walken impression.
I've said my piece. The one movie that came stuck in my head when I was watching this was Ghost in the Shell. So I guess watch that if you liked this.
It's completely different in tone, that's for sure.
Absolutely, but it handles the themes better.
All
At the very
right.
least, it goes, or at the very least, it goes more in depth into it.
So I believe it's Patrick's turn to choose.
That
Yes.
it is. Okay. Guys, let me ask you, the last two movies we did were both anime themed. Do I want to keep that streak going, or do I want to break it with something completely out of left field?
Honestly, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I completely understand if you're sick of it.
No, I'm not sick of it. I do have an idea in mind if you guys want to keep the streak going.
I don't know. Your choice.
Um,
You could just say both. I don't know.
Wanna
no,
have us
because I like
choose?
Pick.
because one of them I really don't want to let you guys know what it is.
Oh, because you want to do it later down the line.
Yeah, yeah. That's I don't know. It's just how my mind works.
Well, I mean, in
Okay.
that case, because like that clearly seems like you really want to talk about it eventually, so you might as well
What?
say it now.
So go for the one I want to talk about more.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. So this is one that has been on my list for a while. So all right. Let's just go for it. All right. So guys, the movie I've selected is a movie based on a book about some kids, some adults, and some holes in the ground. And considering that
But
we've
we
already
saw
done
holes.
yeah, I was just gonna say, considering that we've done an episode on holes, you're probably like, what is he leading on to? Well, this ain't holes, gentlemen. We're gonna be talking about its younger cousin, Hoot.
I don't believe I've heard of this before.
I had a feeling you would not. This movie is very unpopular.
What's it called? Hoot?
Hoot.
Oh, is it from 2006?
Yes. With Logan
Yeah,
Lerman,
I've
Brie
never heard of this.
Larson. Yeah,
Oh wow, Luke
Is
Wilson.
it a
These are some big
sequel?
celebrities too.
Is it a
it's
spiritual successor?
no, it is
It's a completely standalone.
completely different author. The only similarity is that I think similar producers. It's completely different, but it's kind of similar. I'm gonna be honest. This is a movie I completely forgot existed until like a year ago, and I'm just like, oh yeah, might as well give it an episode.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Like,
I have no memories of this movie ever, so I can I don't know. This will be interesting.
yeah. All right. So next week is Hoot.
All right, you guys have a ending?
Now I will erase
Uh
your memory of this podcast.